Welcome back, warrior. So we are working on Genesis chapter 29 today, or right now. The preface, it says, Jacob meets Rachel at the well. He serves Laban 7 years for her. Laban gives to Jacob first Leah, then Rachel in marriage. This story makes me so mad. Jacob serves another 7 years. Leah bears Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Okay. This story makes me so mad. Also, it seems like our treadmill just stopped working. Give me a second. Okay, we had to do incline 8 again. Holy smokes. Also, you might be wondering, why doesn't Linda wear workout clothes? Well, I am a cold person. I get cold all the time, and there's absolutely no way that I would even get out of bed if I knew that I was going to be putting on nothing of clothing or workout clothing, like I just can't. But don't worry, I have my Lululemon underneath here. I'm just kidding. No, I don't. It's just too cold. And the people in my home like it a little bit cooler than I do. So it's always cozy clothes for me, So that's what happens. All right. Here we go. Jacob's journey would have been around 500 miles. So this is what we're just kind of talking about what the redhead hostess is saying. And it would not have been an easy journey. Remember, he was sent away because Esau was thinking about killing him. And so here in this chapter, Jacob had finally arrived. Wouldn't it be interesting to know what that journey was like? Oh yeah, 500 miles. What obstacles would he have come across? Also, doesn't this remind you of like the song, "And I will walk 500 more"? Okay, yeah. So anyway, this is where this must have been how the song was inspired. I don't know for sure, but I would like to think so. I will invent that in my mind. That's the story I will tell myself. So what injuries may have occurred, right? What obstacles, what dangerous situations might have risen. This could be a really interesting conversation to have, especially with teens. Remember that Jacob had prepared himself for a covenant marriage, while his brother Esau had not valued that. Jacob had been making choices for a long time to prepare himself for the moment that was about to happen. The moment when he met Rachel. But think of the commitment he must have had in order to endure a difficult 500-mile journey, with only the hope that there would be a girl at the end of that difficult 500-mile journey. Jacob understood what Elder Bruce R. McConkie taught thousands of years later. He says, I believe that the most important single thing that any Latter-day Saint ever does in this world is to marry the right person in the right place by the right authority. End quote. Oh yeah, totally. Elder Bruce R. McConkie, Agency or Inspiration, which, BYU Devo, February 27, 1973. Oh, I need to listen. I need to write that one down because I think that would be a good one to listen to here. Let's see, Bruce. Let's write it down. You can write it down too if you want. Okay. Again, Elder Bruce R. McConkie, Agency or Inspiration, which, BYU Devotional, February 27th, 1973. Okay, so now let's get to reading the verses. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. Okay, wait. I also want to say that sometimes thinking too much about who you're going to marry does the wrong thing, right? Instead, I believe, and this is the way that I found Clark, is trying to focus on the kind of person that I wanted to be and not worry about if I could find somebody and needing to go desperately find people. It wasn't like I was trying not to find people either, like trying to put myself in positions where I could, but at the right places, and that is what really helped me It was not thinking about who am I going to marry? Who am I going to marry? Who am I going to marry? It was more of like, what kind of person do I want to be? Am I right with God? And he'll take care of the rest, and I think that is the right way to look at things, because if you're doing what you need to do and they're doing what they need to do, this is what happens. And then you guys can go together. I guess it's not this what happens, but like this is what happens, right? So anyway, that's what worked for us. Okay, so then it says, verse 2, and he looked and beheld a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. Okay, hold on. Also, I don't normally walk with a weight when I'm walking this incline, but today I want to try it. But I can see it's already proving to be extra hard. Whew. Only on verse 3 here. No, 2. Well, now we're going to be in verse 3. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said unto them, my brethren, whence be ye? And they said, of Haran are we. And he said unto them, know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. And he said unto them, is he well? And they said, he is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, we cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. And while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, so her cousin, okay, got it, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth and watered the flock of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted up his voice and wept. Wow. Imagine that happening to you as a girl. You're like, hello, and he's like, hello. And he like kissed her, right? And then it's like, and then he wept. Like, I would have been like, why is this guy crying? What happened? Right? Anyways, and it says, and Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother. That he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass when Laban, I'm sure they can't write every detail in here because it's hard, but at the same time, I'm like, give me all the details. I love watching this. They have a bunch of movies that they've made that, like, I think they're called like Jacob and then Joseph and Abraham and all the stories, and they're like Christian stories, and they're like really old, from like the 70s or something. Anyway, I used to love watching these and loved their love story, but then I get angry at it because of how Laban treated them, and that was so mean. Okay. And it came to pass when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And remember, and he told Laban all these things. Okay, remember how Rebekah had to leave so quickly, right? Because Jacob's dad wanted to marry her, or needed to marry her, and she had to leave so quick. Remember, she was like, one day to the next, it was like, boom, I have to leave, right? And so he didn't get to see his sister again for a long time. And so the fact that now he was able to meet his nephew was like so awesome for him, especially to know that his sister's still alive and well and doing awesome. And, you know, still alive and stuff. Like, I feel like that would be the key back then. It was like, are they still alive? You know? Okay, verse 14. And Laban said unto him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou, and that's what they would say to them back then. It was like he was totally his uncle, but that was his brother. And that was the same thing that they said about Lot and Abraham. Even though Abraham was Lot's uncle, they called each other their brother. And this is what happened in high school, okay? I went to a predominantly black school, and everybody was their cousin. And it was just kind of hilarious, because you'd meet somebody and somehow we'd talk about somebody, and then they'd be like, oh, that's my cousin. That's my cuz. And I'd be like, what? No way. And then eventually, by the time I was a senior, I'm like, okay, all these people are related somehow, because everybody keeps calling each other their cousin. And then what's also really hilarious is that my mom, so we're Peruvian, and my mom, she'll be talking about people, and it's always her cousin. She's always talking about a cousin that she has. And I was like, I didn't think that your family had that many people in their family, but somehow you have a gajillion cousins. And I didn't ever get to meet them growing up, or I guess I met a few who traveled to the US, but I didn't really get to meet even my own cousins. I had literally 2 cousins, and I could never meet them. In fact, just barely this year, I was able to do a little bit of a cousin hangout with one of my cousins, and it was so much fun, and she's amazing. But and she did my makeup, and I was like, oh, these are the things we would have done during a sleepover. It was just like, it was just awesome, because I grew up without cousins, right? And so the fact that other people have cousins, or that our kids now have cousins, it's just such a blessing, I think, to have family that you care about and that care about you. Because I never got that. My cousins lived so far away. I never got to visit any of them when I was young, and met them, got to meet them maybe once after we were married. But it's just different, as children, children should have cousins, that's just the rule. Children should have cousins. Anyway, it was just so neat. And I'm sad that I didn't get to have that. And so, yeah, it's so special when in the scriptures they're talking about their brother or their cousin or their nephew, and it's they're so excited to see them. Because they grew up without them, And that's how it was with me and my cousin. So, if you have cousins, be so grateful to have cousins and spend time with them and do things with them and do things for them, because it is the best bond, Okay. All right. Because family is what it's all about, Family is everything. Okay. And then Laban said, okay, hold on, wait. So we're on verse 15. And let's see. Okay. Well, we'll just go to 15, because I thought there was a quote, but we'll do the quote after. Okay, so it says, and Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? What? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And he's like, shouldn't you serve me because you're my brother? I mean, okay. This is a family biz, He's like, I need somebody to help. Also, remember, Laban has a daughter, and I'm not trying to diss on women, okay? I believe that women are strong and can do things. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I really love my husband when he can do some of that yard work. Because I'm like, so exhausted, and he can blow through it so fast. Like I can't even, and I work out, and it's like one of those things. So anyway, so then he says, and Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah. Now I'm all like, Star Wars, what? Okay, so Leah, I don't know how they, whatever, was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. Oh, I love their love story. Okay, there's a quote from Sister Linda K. Burton. She says, who of us is not moved by Jacob and Rachel's biblical love story as we read? And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. Sisters, do we keep our covenants with that kind of deep and devoted love? End quote. Oof. Anyway, Sister Linda K. Burton, The Power of Joy and Love of Covenant Keeping, October 2013 General Conference. Yes. So, his love, Jacob's love, made the time seem to just pass by. These would not have been 7 easy years where Jacob was being waited on. Rather, Jacob would have been herding and caring for goats and sheep, also doing, I'm sure, all kinds of yard work for his uncle. Imagine what kind of backbreaking work that would have involved, right? Shepherding was an around-the-clock venture demanding all types of skill and sweat. For 7 years, the desert sun would have beaten down on Jacob. However, his blistered skin and parched lips were worth the covenant marriage he was waiting for. Right? It's just like the best story. Okay, so then, verse 21, and Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife. like totally, For my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him, and he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for an handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. I don't know which name we want to go with. And he said to Laban, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also, for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. I would he is lucky he loves Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Because I would have killed that guy. Literally at me. I'm not even related. I'm not there. And I want to kill this guy. And Jacob did so because he is a better man than anybody we know, and fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. The level, it doesn't even describe the kind of anger that Rachel would have for her dad right now, I get it, okay? They had a custom, they had a culture. You couldn't marry away your one daughter without the other one, whatever, without the older one being married. And I'm guessing that the whole 7 years was probably hoping that poor Leah would find somebody to get married to. And it's sad that Leah has to have this as her story, that her dad had to be desperate enough to give her to Jacob in a trick, right? And so I can't, so much betrayal trauma triggers right there, from your own dad. Also though, how's Jacob not know stuff? What? How do you not know it's Leah and not Rachel beforehand? Anyway, I have issues with this. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah. Well, yeah, because he never was supposed to love Leah. He loved Leah like a sister, not like a wife, and served with him yet 7 other years. I would literally die. I would kill this guy, dude. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Well, yeah, okay, fine. You know, sure, we got infertility happening again because Leah was... Well, yeah, of course. But like, really, the hate should be towards the dad because he's a hater and he's like not nice, you know? Sure, I'm not there. I was not there. And I'm not the dad trying to marry off the daughters and stuff, you know? Sure, he wanted to make sure she was taken care of. I get that, okay? But still, I'm like, what? Not cool. And Leah, of course, went with it. Who knows why? Okay. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction now. Therefore, my husband will love me. And that's kind of the mindset that people had back then. It was like, oh, if I have their child, they will have to love me. And I don't know, like, that's not necessarily how it works. And I like nowadays or back then, right? Like, guys are still leaving women with all the children, you know? So, verse 33, and she conceived again and bare a son and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bare a son and said, now, this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bare a son, and she said, now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah and left bearing. Oh, like this story just is so cute and so heartbreaking at the same time. It just makes me mad, you know? So, let's see. Laban had an excuse prepared for Jacob, which may have been the very reason he got Leah to go along with the plan. And just because of the whole country thing, right? So Laban was claiming that the custom in Haran is that the younger daughter cannot marry before the older. Even if this were the case, Jacob would not have been made aware of this, right? Like, he didn't want... Like, why didn't they tell somebody? Because then Jacob could have been actively working to, like, hook her up, you know? Right? Like, if somebody's like, by the way, you can't marry me until my sister gets married. Do you know how fast Jacob would have been like, okay, we got this. Let's go out and find a husband anywhere, right? Like, if he could have just told them, I guess he would have probably, like, helped out, you know? So Camille Frank Olson gave this interesting insight. She says, the biblical text reports Jacob's anger and dismay when he discovered the deception, but no mention is made of the response of Leah or Rachel, right? Yeah, because you do not, like, it was probably taken to the next level, you know? What did they think about their father's marriage schemes for them? Why did the sisters go along with the plan? Did they have a choice? As an impostor at her own wedding, how did Leah feel when she knew her husband would soon discover that she was not his beloved Rachel? Where was Rachel during the ceremony? Yeah, like, seriously. Written marriage contracts were customary throughout the ancient Near East. Before the wedding day, the groom and the bride's father, or his representative, signed the contract containing all the accepted negotiations. Consequently, Jacob held a solid legal claim against Laban for failing to meet his commitments in the contract, and therefore could have been released from his marriage to Leah, reflecting his weakened position. Laban proposed an appealing solution the moment Jacob accused him of duplicity. If Jacob would give Leah her due attention during the full bridal week, he could also marry Rachel. Furthermore, Laban did not require Jacob to wait until the negotiated 7 additional years of labor were completed before relinquishing his second daughter to him, again indicating Laban's awareness of his vulnerable position. End quote. Camille Frank Olson, Women of the Old Testament. This just makes me mad, you know? So the scriptures are full of real people with real feelings, and it often gets messy. Here we can see that this was now a situation involving different people with their own perspectives, and it was not a simple situation for sure. Laban had conspired this plan, and now there were consequences to that. Yeah, everybody's got hurt feelings, you know? In verse, like, Leah feels sad that she's not loved, and Rachel feels betrayed by her father and accidentally, sort of, by her husband, you know, or by the man of her dreams. Right? And Laban had conspired this plan. Okay, so it says that the Lord opened Leah's womb because she was hated. And the 2018 Old Testament Seminary Teacher Manual explains the word hated, as used in verse 31, was translated from the Hebrew word sane, which means loved less. Yeah, of course she was loved less. We all feel bad for her, but I don't, because that wasn't supposed to be it. That was not supposed to be the thing that happened, you know? And it's crazy that people are shocked that she was loved less. No, that was it. He didn't spend 7 years working for her. He didn't spend this whole time getting to know her. Leah is his sister, and that would be gross, probably. Like, you know, also they're cousins. So, like, there's that. The Lord comforted Leah in her circumstance, and she bore 4 sons, right? Of course, which were Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, the 4 eldest sons of the future tribes of Israel. And it's just crazy, right? It's just crazy. So, all right. So that is how we end chapter 29 in this angry, frustrated, sad state that we're in because we were deceived. We were betrayed. And there's nothing we can do about it, you know? That's the story there. So it's really frustrating. And I have to go punch something. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so here's our Read It, Live It. And we're going to try to stay positive about things because this has not happened in our family, hopefully. And therefore, we're going to be fine, right? Got to breathe. Okay, hold on. I can't see this. It says, it's verse 28:15. Okay, or chapter 28, verse 15. So we'll read that. They combined Genesis 28 and 29. Read it, live it. So it says, and behold, I am with thee and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. Okay. And it says, the Levit says, Jacob was out in the wilderness alone with no place to go, and it was his own fault. But God still met him there, where he was, as he was, and blessed him. Count the blessings. That is so good. But also, I love we just listened to the Relief Society devotional, or I just listened to the Relief Society devotional, and Sister Camille Johnson, Sister Camille Johnson, she said that it is better to do, or she said you can either do life with Jesus or without him. And when we do life with Jesus, it's always better. And she didn't say that it would be easy, but she did say that life with Jesus is easier. And so I do believe that because Jacob and Rachel were of the covenant, and also Leah, I'll try not to be upset with her because it wasn't her fault. I believe that their life was hard, and those things that the dad did were unacceptable, like should never happen in a life, but that because they focused on Jesus Christ, that their burdens were lighter. Life was a little bit easier because they chose to have Christ with them. All right. That is it. And until Genesis chapter 30, stay strong, warrior. So also really quick, I just wanted to
also say that, you know what, like Rachel was probably a lot less prideful than I am and was probably just super excited that she still got to marry him and marry Jacob. And so I bet that when he finally got to marry Rachel and Rachel got to marry him, I bet that was amazing for them. You know, like I think that would have been like the best. And it does make sense that he would like her more. You know, it does make sense. So anyway, I just had to throw that out there because I know that it might have seemed like we ended on a super sad note, but I also wanted to make sure that you knew that I knew that maybe she was so excited and it maybe wasn't as sad as I think because their culture was different back then. So anyway, okay, that's it.